In 1905, a Scandinavian whaling steamer working across the far North Pacific claimed that it had collided with something that fought back with the rage of a sea giant. Captain Halvorson's journal spoke of a creature longer than their vessel, with a neck that lifted like a towering mast and flippers powerful enough to crush a smaller craft. They returned with photographs, but Admiral Tormund locked the entire account away, insisting the report be forgotten. Whatever they dragged up from those black depths should have been left where it belonged. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe and let us know where you're watching from. I served as third mate aboard the Fjordal when we departed from Stavanger in March of 1903. Our captain, Rorik Halvorsen, had sailed the frozen routes for 20 years and knew the drifting ice like he knew the lines on his own hands. We carried 12 harpoons, 3 small boats, and enough powder to last a long and unforgiving season. The crew totaled 18 men, hardened workers who could tie a line during a storm and rest standing with their backs to a mast. The ship itself was built for the hunt, with oak planks 2 hands thick, iron-banded ribs, and a prow reinforced with heavy steel. The harpoon cannon mounted at the bow could fire a shaft clean through a whale's heart at 50 yards. Mikkel Sorensen served as gunner and kept the weapon clean as if it were his own rifle. Jonas Berglund led the boat teams and could read the shifting water like sacred text. Father Eldrick carried a small scripture and offered blessings to men who worked in places where God's hand grew thin. We headed north past the Shetland waters into regions that appeared on almost no charts. The ice had cracked early that year, opening channels where none were expected. The water ran dark between the floes, and the air carried a sharp metallic taste that stung the nose. We saw very few birds, though the season should have brought them in thick clouds. On the 10th day, we spotted our first whale, a massive bull sperm, old and heavily scarred, drifting in a patch of strangely calm water. Halvorsen ordered the boats lowered. I took the steering oar in the second boat, with Berglund at the bow and 4 men rowing. The sea was still enough to hear our own breathing. We closed to 30 yards before the whale slipped beneath the surface. It dove clean, barely leaving a ripple, and we waited with harpoons ready. The line ran out slow and steady, marking the creature's path below. Then it stopped. The water fell silent. We hauled the rope, and it rose with no weight. The harpoon broke the surface with its head bent at an impossible angle. The metal looked twisted like thin wire. Berglund lifted the warped shaft and shook his head, saying no whale could bend iron that way. The steel carried deep grooves, as though scraped by something harder than tooth or bone. We searched the surface for any sign of the animal, but found only empty sea. That night, noises echoed from beneath the hull, not the knock of ice or the scrape of kelp, but a steady tapping, slow and deliberate, traveling the entire length of the keel. Morning brought fog thick as wool. We drifted inside a pocket of clear water, surrounded by gray walls that held tight around us. The surface lay smooth as glass, broken only by the slow circle of our wake. Through the fog rolled a sound like the breath of a giant bellows, deep, heavy exhalations that echoed across the water with no clear direction. Sorensen stood by the harpoon cannon and checked the sights, insisting something immense was moving beyond the mist. The breathing continued in perfect rhythm, never closer, never farther. We strained to see through the fog, but it held firm like a curtain. When the mist finally lifted near midday, we found ourselves drifting in a basin of calm water surrounded by towering ice on 3 sides. The water was deeper than our lead lines could measure, colored a dark blue that nearly turned black. At the center of the basin, something rose to the surface. A long ridge of dark flesh appeared and submerged again, far larger and longer than any whale we had ever known. Halvorsen studied it through his spyglass and spoke without lowering the lens. "Ready the gun," Halvorsen said. "Whatever it is, we take it clean." Sorensen primed the charge and loaded a heavy harpoon fitted with a double-barred head. The line slid smoothly from its tub. The crew spaced themselves along the rail with boat hooks and axes ready. The creature surfaced again, this time revealing more of its shape. A wide back rose first, slate gray with pale patches like weathered scars. Then a neck emerged, thicker than a full-grown pine trunk, lifting a head clear of the sea. The head resembled no whale's. It was narrow and long, with eyes positioned forward like a predator's. The neck bent and angled as the beast turned its gaze toward our vessel. "God preserve us," one of the men murmured. Father Eldrick clutched his scripture, though he spoke no prayer aloud. The creature's head rose higher still, water falling in sheets from its sides. The neck stretched 20 feet above the surface, perhaps even more. My hands trembled as I tried to judge its height. No whale bore such a neck. No whale held its skull so steady. Sorensen aimed carefully down the barrel and waited for the captain's order. The creature fixed its head toward us and lingered. Even from that distance, I saw the dark, unblinking eye lock onto our ship. The water beside it stirred as something large moved beneath the surface. Massive shapes shifted below the surface, too shadowed to make out clearly. "Fire!" Halvorsen commanded. The harpoon shot straight and struck the beast behind the head where the neck met the shoulders. The shaft sunk deep, and the line snapped tight with the sharp crack of a whip. The creature jerked upward, its mouth spreading wide to show teeth sharpened like daggers. The sound that erupted was unlike any whale's call. It was a thunderous roar that rolled across the water and echoed off the ice walls around us. The monster plunged under, and the line screamed from the reel. We had struck many whales before, but nothing had ever pulled like this. The rope sped out faster than a man could follow. Sorensen wrestled the brake and smoke curled up from the grinding friction. The bow dipped sharply as the creature dragged us forward. "Cut the line!" Berglund shouted, but Halvorsen raised a hand. "Hold fast," he ordered. "We see what we've taken." The captain's eyes shone with the fever that grips a man when he hooks something beyond anything he has known. I had witnessed it before in hunters who found tracks far larger than any animal they had imagined. The beast surfaced again, this time close enough to study plainly. The head stretched longer than our largest boat, with a jaw that could shear a man in two. Its eyes were black and aware, nothing like the vacant gaze of a whale or seal. The neck twisted desperately as the animal tried to reach the harpoon buried deep in its flesh. Blood darkened the water around it. Then the rest of the creature rose. The body that followed the neck was enormous, easily the length of our entire ship. 4 massive flippers, each as long as our mainmast, backed the sea into white foam. Its tail stretched back farther than we could see, slipping into depths no lead could find. The whole creature moved with a frightening grace, coiling and turning like a giant serpent. "It's not alone!" cried Anders from the crow's nest. "2 more to starboard!" Through the clear water we could see other forms shifting, shadows that dwarfed even the wounded beast we had struck. The sea around us began to churn as they rose. The harpooned creature turned toward the ship. It moved with shocking speed despite its wounds, the immense flippers pushing it forward like great oars. the head lifted high, water spilling from its jaws. I saw the teeth clearly now, curved and sharp like sabers, made for tearing flesh clean from bone. "All boats away!" Halvorsen yelled. "Cut us loose!" But as Sorensen raised his axe to the rope, the creature slammed into the bow. The impact hurled men across the deck and split open the front seams. Water flooded through the gaps between the planks. The creature's head lifted high above the rail, and its jaws spread wide enough to swallow a full-grown man in one bite. Larson swung his axe straight at the massive head. The blade sank deep beneath the eye, and thick black blood sprayed across the deck. The beast recoiled violently, ripping away part of the rail as it pulled back. Its furious bellow shook the rigging and rattled my ears until they rang. It twisted its body and lashed out again, striking the ship's side with brutal force. The hull groaned under the impact. A second creature surged up to port. This one was even larger, its hide striped with pale scars. It circled us once and slipped under again. The pressure from its dive rolled the vessel like a toy boat. A ring of bubbles rose around us, and I knew it had moved beneath the hull. "Ready the powder!" Eriksson shouted. "If we can't bring them down, we'll mark them." Bjorn sprinted to the small signaling cannon we carried. The charge was weak, but the blast might drive them back, or at least alert any nearby ships to our end. The harpooned beast coiled its long neck around the mainmast. The timber creaked and began to bend under the immense strain. Men scattered as ropes and rigging dropped from above. The creature's weight dragged the ship toward starboard. Water washed over the rail and spilled across the deck. I seized a boat hook and rammed the iron point into its hide. It felt like striking stone. The tip skidded across its scales without leaving even a scratch. The creature slowly turned its eye toward me, and in that dark mirror I saw my own reflection. There was thought in that gaze, cold, unfamiliar, but unmistakably aware. Father Nordeval stepped forward with his Bible raised high. He spoke a Latin prayer meant for casting out malevolent spirits. The creature's head shifted toward him, tilting slightly as though it understood the sound. For an instant, it seemed to hesitate. Then it drew back its jaws and unleashed another roar, splattering the priest with seawater and blood. Nordeval held his place, though his hands trembled. The ship lurched as the creature below slammed into the hull. Planks cracked with sharp reports like gunfire. The Nord was built to withstand ice and storms, but not monsters like these. The iron braces groaned under pressure no vessel could endure. Water poured in faster than the pumps could clear it. "Abandon ship," Eriksson finally commanded. The boats were already prepared, though the thought of launching them with the beasts so near felt near impossible. The harpooned beast still clung to the mast, but its strength was fading. Blood loss slowed its movements. Larson fired the signal cannon straight into the beast's open mouth. The blast echoed inside its throat. The creature released the mast and toppled backward into the water, trailing smoke and blood. It convulsed once more, then drifted still on its side. The harpoon rope sagged slack, but the others remained nearby. I counted at least 3 more circling us, their massive silhouettes visible through the clear depths. They moved deliberately, as if coordinating their assault. One rose near the stern, examining the rudder with what looked like curiosity. Another surfaced so close I could have touched its snout. Its head stretched longer than our longest boat. We lowered the boats in frantic haste. The first carried 6 men, including Anderson. They rowed with all their strength toward the ice wall and reached it unharmed. The second boat held 4 men and Father Nordeval. As they cleared the ship's side, one of the creatures surged upward beneath them. The boat lifted on its back for a moment, then slid off. The men plunged into the freezing water. Nordeval went under and never resurfaced. The others clung to the overturned boat and cried out for help. The creature circled them once, its head breaking the surface nearby. Then it slipped beneath again, leaving only ripples. The third boat carried myself, Erickson, and 4 others. We rowed with frantic determination toward the ice. Behind us, the Nieuword listed farther as water rushed into her hold. The main mast leaned at an impossible angle where the dead creature had twisted it. A dark shape glided beneath our boat. I felt the presence of something enormous and patient drifting below us. The water thickened as a massive head rose beside us, close enough for me to see each individual scale. This one differed from the others. Older, marked with scars earned through long survival in these seas. It studied us without hostility, the way a man might observe a small insect. The eye that locked on mine held depths I could never hope to understand. I sat frozen with the oar still in my hands, hardly daring to breathe or shift. The creature's warm breath rolled over us, carrying the scent of deep waters and ancient things. Then it slipped beneath the surface again, disappearing as quietly as it had come. We continued to row, never turning back until we reached the ice shelf. From that distance of safety, we watched the Nieuword sink. The vessel settled gradually, the deck awash, the warped mast jutting toward the gray sky. The dead creature floated near it, its massive form slowly rotating with the current. We were rescued 2 days later by a Danish sealer who spotted the smoke from our signal fire. Captain Hendrickson doubted our tale when we recounted it, but he granted us passage to Hammerfest. Erickson had managed to save his logbook and the photographic plates from the cabin. The images displayed the creatures clearly, though without scale, they were difficult to interpret. Once in Hammerfest, Erickson reported our encounter to the Maritime Authority. The official listened in silence and filed the account without response. Within a week, officers from the Naval Ministry arrived and seized all of our materials. They questioned each survivor separately and made it plain that keeping quiet would benefit us more than making our story public. The photographs vanished into government archives. The logbook was officially labeled classified. Each of us received a sum of money and a stern warning never to speak about what we had witnessed. The official record claimed the Nieuword had been lost to ice damage during a spring storm. No reference was made to the creatures. But I remember what we saw in that hidden bay. I know what dragged our vessel down and observed us with eyes older than any whales. In the deep Arctic waters, beings still move that were ancient even when the first ice formed. They have learned to keep clear of men and ships, but they have not forgotten us. And sometimes, when conditions align and the fog lifts at the right moment, they allow themselves to be seen. The Navy buried our account, but the truth remained untouched. Somewhere in their archives, the photographs endure.